losing $1,587.44 in the month of October. Happy Halloween, happy November. What's going on, guys? Welcome on in. This is a monthly recap video that I'm now I guess committing to monthly because the dailies is just, or the after every trade is not possible anymore because I'm setting up some automations, which as you can see, we're working through some kinks. Okay, but this will be a pretty chill video if you want to sit back and strap in. We're going to go over all the trade recaps or all the trading data that I have. It won't take too long. I went over it briefly here this morning, and there's not a lot that I need to like change, but I'll explain all the thought processes there and everything. Of this $1,587 of lost money this month, let me just pull up, I guess, let me get rid of all the accounts and let me just go to my Webull accounts. I think I only have one of these, but I'm only trading in one of those, but I forget which one it is, so I'm going to leave them all. But yeah, for this month, we made $153 in active trading. So that's like me clicking buttons and entering orders in and getting in manually. The rest of the money was all automated. So as you can see, like, you know, clearly there's a difference there. Didn't do much. So I'm going to recap this one because we can. I'll pull up my Webull account so you can see it. But yeah, 153 was on really just one trade. Let me just make sure I tag this properly. Yep. It was on one trade on NVIDIA, and it was early in the month. We had, I think, been in prior, so I think it maybe bled from the month prior. And then I entered a new trade on the 30th. So back on Thursday of last week, I entered a new trade, which I'll talk about. It's on CrowdStrike. We'll see what happens there. I got like a short, maybe like a couple of week window until their earnings, so I've got to be careful on that one to get out before that, but we'll see. Inside the Webull account, I'll pull up the charts in a second on the actual, we'll recap this trade. The rest of it, we're not going to recap really because there's just a million trades, so we'll talk about that. But so inside of here, we are, I guess I should pull up the account P&L, realize P&L over the past month, and you can see the 152.99 on NVDA. That's it. So that's all we have on there. And then we have CrowdStrike, which is $0 in realized P&L. You can see the position underneath there now. That is currently, yeah, I'm not covering it. It's currently up $5, but it's like I just got in last week, so we're in a swing. So just leave that alone. The accounts over 3, I'm depositing I think $100 and something per month. I just set that up a couple months ago, and I'm gonna leave that alone. I probably could increase it, but I'm just gonna leave that alone for now and just let it run, and then hopefully make money. You know, and that's how we'll grow the account. I think I can deposit a lot more well, for now I'm gonna leave it alone because I think I want to really give the automations a test. If those suck ass and they're not worth it by the end of the year, give it another 2 months. I'll just you know, pull back to my own stuff. You know what I mean? Because it's making money, obviously. So like, why would I change what's working? You know, not that I'm changing. I'm just trying to like expand into different things and really just testing stuff. You know. But yes, that's that. If you go back the past couple months, so I had in this account, I know it's small. I deposited funds. I think I got it up to like $2,600. Maybe I deposited a bit more. It was over, I mean, made money on some trades. I was over like $3,300 at one point. And then I took out, I think, $1,000 because I wanted to use that to test out some automations. And then since then, I've just been slowly growing the account by winning trades and also depositing a little bit of money as well. So cool, but nothing amazing. You know, it just is what it is. If I go P&L percentage, can I do that here, I guess? Let me see if I can do that. Percentages, does it tell me that? I don't know. I don't know why this is like, they changed this. I just downloaded the new version, so I'm all thrown off here. I guess I can't change that range, whatever. But yeah, so that's cool. Made money on that. We can get rid of this for now. Not necessary to have that anymore. Let's talk about the automations and kind of why that's of interest. So if I pull up all the accounts, I guess I should pull the Weebulls off so we can just look at the automations. It's on my Tradevate account. So that account by itself lost 1740 and not good. I mean, the average win-loss is good. So we're making almost double on the winners than the losers, but we're just losing a lot more. So this number of 1.76 would be really, really good. I know I'm covering some things up. I'll pop off the screen here so I don't screw this. This would be a pretty good number. You know, if I was just like trading with around a 45 to 50% win rate, it'd be killer, be crushing. But we're not, obviously, because we don't have a positive. We have a 33.78% win rate. So this took 74 trades. All the automations took 74 trades. And how do I take those trades? Well, essentially what I have is I've set up an automation on the S&P 500, so trading ES, and then MGC. MGC is the micro gold futures contracts, and then ES is the S&P, the E-mini S&P contracts. So I'm trading one contract of this, and then on the trades that on MGC, I'm trading two contracts of MGC. And the MGC trades a lot more. It's an engulfing strategy. So essentially what's happening is it's essentially entering trades once we have an engulfing candle on gold. And then this one's basing it off the first, I think, 15-minute range of the day once we break that first. So I'll pull it up here. Here's the S&P strategy. So it essentially takes the first 15 minutes of the trading day. It marks off the high and the low. And then if we get a 5-minute candle to close either lower or higher, it takes a longer short. So it's kind of a continuation or like a range break situation. So if this next 5-minute candle closes below this red line right here, we're going to enter a short, and then it's going to set an automatic take profit and stop loss based on my prior settings. So based on the settings that I've set in the past through backtesting, it'll do that. Now, my issue I think I've had with this is that I've kind of overanalyzed. So if I jump into the backtest results and I go over the past 30 days, right, we're going to see that it was doing okay for a period of time. Back in the middle of the month, I was actually looking really nice. I was like, oh, this is looking pretty good. But since then, it has not done very well. And what you can really kind of say, or what I can see from that, is really what we have is a lot more chop for the first, let's say, 1 to 2 hours of the trading day. And this strategy is working really well off of the first, or not working well. It's based off the first 15 minutes. So we're actually getting a lot more chop after the first 15 minutes, when in their periods of time in history, or if you go back over the past year, the first 15 minutes is a little bit choppier, kind of noisy, and then we kind of find a direction and go. And that tends to work really well. So you kind of have these periods where it works well, it doesn't work well. So just like, manual trading, and how I have found like a breakout strategy or breakdown strategy that I traded my own, you have the discretion to like not trade in a given day. And like sometimes I'll just literally just not trade. And it's not because there was no setups. It's just because I wasn't looking, I didn't care. And I just felt like I didn't want to trade. Like that's me. Like that's me. This is removing me. It's saying, no, F you, get out of here. We're just going to trade no matter if you're here or not. And that's kind of what it's doing. And you set the rules and we'll just do it for you, which is cool. And I think that's where we're going. But at the same time, it does remove that like human discretionary aspect, which could be good and also could be bad. And you can hurt you. So that's the S&P. I'm going to pull up NVIDIA's chart in a second, but also then on gold, this is a 30-minute time frame. So essentially what it's doing is if we have a engulfing candle on a 30-minute, which I think, let me see if we have one here. I think we have one coming here. Yeah, we're going to have one here. So this one, if this candle that we currently are in right now, see how it began below the body of the prior one, indicated by this little green arrow saying like we have it if it closes properly. So as long as we close above the body of this red arrow or this red candle, we're going to get long on this next candle. And then we're going to be in for, I think it's roughly a 2-to-1 risk reward, something like that. It's kind of what it does. So the issue that I've noticed on this is that we're getting a lot of trades and stop losses being hit in the overnight hours, which is fine. I think I need to optimize this. And what I have to do is I have this thing trading from a pretty much like 6 p.m. So the futures market closes at 5 p.m. Eastern time to 6 p.m. It's like a 1-hour close every day, and then opens at 6 p.m. and then it pops, or then it goes until the next day at 5 p.m. So it trades for 23 hours straight essentially. So the issue I think I'm noticing with these, which I'll pull up the data in a second, is we're getting a lot of like mixed or a lot of shit in that overnight. I think I need to just create 3 separate strategies and have it for Asia session, London session, and then New York session, and have those be the 3 time frames and have 3 separate strategies with separate criteria during those time spans, instead of having this whole window where I'm trying to kind of capture all of them in the same, I'm trying to do all of it at the same time. And in doing that, like there might be better settings for Asia session, might be better settings or risk rewards for London sessions. Like that's the research and stuff I have to dive deeper into. So I'm going to do that this month and hopefully have 3 separate strategies running for those different time sessions. I think it just makes more sense. And I think that's where my mind is going. So pull up NVIDIA, then we'll look into the details because I want to pull up the details of this stuff here. So let's pull up the NVIDIA chart. That's kind of a big overview of what's going on. It's really just a lot of testing. Again, that's kind of my view. It's like, hey, we have the ability to test. Like, let's just test. Let's just test it out. I'm like, why not? Why not wing it down? Shoot. Let's see. Okay. And here's the NVIDIA. So I didn't trade. Like I did not capture this move. That was just not me. Why you could... It's just not my setup. I mean, like, yeah, I guess you can say, yeah, you had a consolidation here that broke on higher volume. I don't know. Not really. Nothing amazing. That broke and then it popped, which was crazy. They had some news, I think, whatever. I traded this, I believe. It was this move back here. So yeah, so this is the 30th of September. That's when I got in. I enter on the 30th of September, and then we had a nice little push. It got to 195. I was looking for a push towards 200. So I was looking for a target up in this ballpark. I did not get that push. I forget exactly what the news was on the 10th, but there was some news on the 10th. I think it was crypto that was crashing. Everything was crashing for a brief period of time. Maybe there was some China news. Trump, China, no, yes, this, that. I don't know. It was a Friday. I said, I'm pretty close to my target. I'm going to just get out. And I got out. And then it would have stopped me out, I believe, shortly after, because I think my stop loss was somewhere in the ballpark of here. If not, my stop loss was here. If I go back in time, I think I traded this one on the weekly time frame. So if I did on the weekly time, I can pull it up. If I trade this one on the weekly time frame, then this is definitely different. So let's see. Pull this up. Let me pull up the NVIDIA. Where is she? I think she was in the beginning, yeah. MGC, no. Where's NVIDIA? Well, now I got to go back, turn off these other accounts, turn off my Tradevate account, put these ones on. It was, oh, sorry, it was the 10th. I closed it out on the 10th. Yeah, I was like just looking at that. So yeah, this was on the weekly, I believe. Yes. So if I go back to the weekly time frame, yes. This weekly candle was looking very juicy. I got in here. So I would have had a stop loss under the weekly low, which if you go back in time, that would have hit. So had I not taken the profits on that day, I had moved my stop loss to break even, but my stop was 180. So I go weekly candle low, or the breaking candle low is my stop on this one. So yeah, we did undercut that 180 briefly. We didn't close below it. Doesn't look like on any day, but we got close. We undercut it with a couple of wicks, and then eventually it went. So is it a good move? In hindsight, it was. It was really not that crazy of a trade. I think it was looking to make closer to $250, $300 in the trade. $150 is cool. No, it's good, making money, right? But it's not like anything crazy. For the way that I want to be trading or the size I want to be trading, but over time we'll grow it. It's not a big deal. So that was that. Yeah, nothing crazy. And looking back though, had I not gotten out on that Friday in the morning, what would have ended up happening? I would have ended up getting stopped out break even at the end of the day. So I kind of saved my ass by seeing that news, seeing the reaction at the beginning of the day and going, yeah, I'm out. It's a Friday. I don't want to mess with this. With whatever tensions, I think it was trade war tension bullshit. Stupid shit like that, whatever. It happens. Sometimes, you're on it, sometimes you're not. Like, this is one of those things where, like, I could have just not given a shit, not cared, and like, oh, I would have been like doing whatever I'm doing. Oh, stop loss, break even. It would have been a zero. Like, that's sometimes what happens. Like, if it was a automated trade, that's probably what would have happened. But because I had the manual side, like, that's what I did. How do you know if that's helpful or not? I don't know. Like, I think you just have to trade for a long enough time and be like, yo, I'm clearly sucking ass, or it's making money, so I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing. Like, all I know is that what I had been doing was working with, or is working with my strategy the past 2.5 years. So it's like, well, I'm just going to keep doing that. Just going to keep doing that. My brain, however it's rolling, is working. Okay, so now we got an alert on the ES. Let's just take a look at that really quick, and this is going to be a long video. It's not that long, but we'll get into the stats in a second. So now you can kind of see the automation live at work and see how it's working. So essentially now we are short, and because we had a candle closing below the 15-minute range, okay? And by the time this video ends, you might even see this thing hitting target or stop. So now it's essentially targeting right here. You can see it right there. It's very small. But you can see like the automatic take profit and stop are set. So now we've got a stop loss here, take profit here. Whatever hits first, and will be what happens. So either we're going to lose or we're going to win today. And I don't know what's going to happen yet. So we'll see. If we continue the downside push, we might get a win. But that's all it's doing. I didn't take the trade. Like, I go on my phone and I see entry working sell on ES. So we're in. Like, I'm in. Cool. back to this. So here we go. Let's dive into the details. I'm gonna add back. Sorry, I keep going to the wrong thing. My Tradevate account and get rid of the Webull accounts. So the biggest thing that I took away, right, when I dive into the reports on TradeZilla, which by the way, there's a link to TradeZilla below if you want to check it out and get a discount because it's cool and I use it. And if you do, you can maybe analyze your trades like this too. I don't know. So yeah, the average win loss, like we were talking about, right? It's good, but the win rate's not there. So you're going to have push and pull. So what I've noticed in the multiple years of doing this stuff, and really the past like 3 years of like tracking the data more strictly or like more seriously, I'm going to get out of the way for a second here. What I've noticed is that the higher this number, the higher your average win loss, okay, the lower your win rate is going to generally be, okay? And the higher your win rate, the lower your average win loss is going to be on average when you take a lot of trades. You can have 5 trades and you can win all of them and you can have a 2-to-1 risk reward and be like, oh, look at me, I'm the best. That's great, but do that for 100 trades or do that, then I'm impressed. If you're doing that for 100 trades, cool, that's pretty sick. So diving into the overview, this is kind of cool. Some people like this. This isn't really, it's helpful, but it's not like that crazy for me to look at all this stuff. I like to dive into the reports tab. Like you can see max consecutive wins, 3, max consecutive losses, 6. So it tells me like, hey, if we've gone on a 5 in a row losing streak, chances of us winning here next are higher than losing. That's what that's telling me. Commissions and fees, we end up eating away $300 in profits, or we add $300 more with commissions and fees to the PN, or to like, I guess already bad performance month, but not terrible. It's not terrible. It was really just bad at the end. The end of the month was bad. It was good early, like mid-month. We're like, oh fuck, we're looking good, and then it was like, sorry, no, you're not. We're actually up like $2,000, over $2,000, and then we finished nearly $2,000 down. In the reports tab, I like to go to day and time. Start here. So I don't have any filters. So this is looking at both of the trading strategies, both the gold and the S&P. So it's like it's throwing in like the time frame, how long the durations are, all this stuff. I'll go to the days here, and you can see that we're clearly cooking midweek, and then we're getting destroyed Friday. Like it's not even close. So you can see ES and MGC on the right hand side, which is kind of cool. So we're getting destroyed on Friday from ES. We're doing well on Tuesday and Wednesday for ES. Thursday is kind of like a break-even wash, so it's barely even a big deal. And then we're doing really, really well on gold on Friday and Monday. So it's funny how this works, right? So you look at this and say to yourself, okay, if I, and this is what you could do this, but the problem is that, is there enough data for me to do this? And is that like a smart decision? Probably not. And I'll explain why in a second. If I had just run the S&P strategy from Tuesday through Thursday, and then I only ran my gold strategy on MGC on Monday and Friday, we would have a freaking insane month. But I obviously didn't do that. That's just, I've run it every day. So, but that's good data because now I'm like, okay, we got some trades here, 15, 16, like we're getting some data that's now allowing me to make decisions off of. Is this enough data? Probably not. 16 trade. Is that enough to say, yeah, let's not trade Fridays anymore? No, because the markets are going to change. Like the markets don't just stay the same way forever. You know what I mean? They will change. So if this number continues to get excruciatingly horrible, like over time, yeah, we might have to turn Fridays off or adjust the settings for Fridays to make it trade differently so we don't lose as much. Or to better align with the market situation on Fridays. Like that's kind of how I see it. So that's that. But what I was saying before is if I go to filters, okay, and I jump down and I go to symbol, and I'm not going to exclude, I'm going to go to symbol, and I'm just going to go to MGC, and I pull up MGC. So now what this is going to do on TradeZilla, it's only going to show me data for MGC, for gold, for the micro gold contracts, okay? So now it gives me that same chart or similar chart, and now I can dive into the details here. So I can go to trade time and trade duration. Here's what I'm more interested in. So you're clearly seeing that when we're winning, I guess more often, it's not that insane. We give a lot of trades here in the evening hours, which is when the Asian session starts to open up, okay, in the evening on my East Coast time. So it's actually not bad. So this is promising data. So at least like there early on, no. But later on, yes. So there's something to be said here. We're getting a lot of trades firing around Asia session. So that tells me, okay, Asia session, we might need to change something there. As we approach the morning hours, you see start to be some activity here as London opens, and then we have New York session here where it's doing okay. It's actually doing pretty good, I'd say. For New York session, I think we're doing pretty good. So what I really see is just opportunity to make some adjustments, change some data or change some settings here, change some settings here, and change some settings here, create 3 different strategies that just trades Asia, 1 trades London session, and 1 trades the New York session. That's what I'm looking at. Okay. So that one's that. Let's get rid of that filter. Let's pull up the S&P. If I go to symbol and I go to ES, it's really simple here because I'm only trading two things with this. So it makes it so much nicer. Not complicated to track and figure out. If I go to ES and then I look at right now, we're looking at trade time. These are all being taken. Let me go to every 30 minutes. It's showing me when I'm taking the trades. What this is telling me very, very clearly right now, it's not even close. If the trades are executing later on, are being taken later on in the day, after 10:30 a.m., we're making money. Prior to that, we're not. So what this is telling me is that the first half hour, we're getting a lot more chop than we are later on. So we're taking more trades early on because of the strategy, but I can customize. I can change that. Like I can go in, here's the strategy, which is at work right now. I could go in and I can say, you know what? Screw the first 15 minutes. Let's wait for the first 30 minutes. Let's wait for the first 20 minutes. Let's wait for the first hour. And then after the first hour, now if we break the range, go short, go long, right? And if I did that, essentially this data is telling me I would be more profitable. I'd be profitable. So we're seeing chop. But the problem is, right, can we go and change that? Going back to that gold thing I was talking about before, like could we go in and change the settings right now? Or is it worth to make adjustments off this? I don't think so in at least any substantial way, because I'll pop back up here because we're pretty much done with that. Because if you do, you are now basing, right, the poor performance or like, it's not working very well, right? You're basing that off of a window in time where I'd say for the past 2 to 3 weeks, it hasn't worked very well. But does that mean that the next 2 to 3 weeks will stay the same way? I don't know. That's where you play this game when it comes to, which is what I think trading is so fascinating, because you now have to sit back and say, does it make sense for me to change my strategy right now or adjust it, not change it completely, adjust my strategy right now to more so align with the current market conditions, or do I have faith or do I believe that these current market conditions won't continue for that much longer and it just makes sense to just leave it alone and let it play out over time because you have a back test that's been proven pretty solid over the past year, 2 years, 6 months, whatever the time frame might be. And so that's the weight you have to weigh. Well, that's the decision you got to weigh. So that's the biggest thing I've found in at least this automation stuff is that when you're playing this, you're doing this thing, you can easily over optimize. You can easily go in and say, okay, let me see if I can find the best settings and make it so every month perfectly on Mondays, it trades perfectly on Tuesdays, but you're basing those settings off of the past. You're not basing that off of what or I guess you can't base off the future, but you're basing off the past. So if I go back to this right here, right? Here is the past 1 year. Let me pull up ES properly, the continuous contract. Here's how the strategy has played out over the past year. Up here the report, and you can see it, right? I mean, you look at that chart and you go, holy fuck, this is up 200%. This is insane. It's got a 40% drawdown, which is decent. It's profitable more than half the time, like based on the current settings that I've created. Oh my, this is great. But you see, as of late, it's not doing very well, right? But then you look back to the time and you say, well, it had a period here where it didn't do very well. Then it didn't do very well back in early this year. And then it went on a run where it essentially made $14,000 in like 2 months. And then it had this little period where it just kind of consolidated for like multiple months, maybe like 2 months. And then it went on a run where it went from 14K to 24K. It made 10K in 2-3 months. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? That's what trading is. So I believe there's a balance to be had. Like, yes, there's some optimization, some slight adjustments to be made over time, but you don't want to go too crazy, because if you keep going too crazy and adjusting every 2 seconds, Well, now this data, this history isn't relevant because it's going to change. Because the settings that I now create are not going to get these same results over the past year. They're going to get better results maybe right now as the past 2-3 weeks, but they're not going to get the same results over the past year. So when do you just say, let the thing play out, you have an edge, leave it alone, versus I got to make some adjustments? That is like this in this era or this new age of automations, I think that we're moving towards. I don't think we're like totally there yet in terms of like this full mass adoption, but I think we're getting more and more interested in it. That's also the company that I'm now working for. Like that's what we do at Alpha Insider. Like we literally help people automate their trading. In this new like age, that's what you're going to have to, like, that's where the challenge is going to be. It's not going to be, oh, am I holding my losses to no, people are not going to be emotional as much because people are always emotional, but they're not going to be manually doing it. They're going to have to say, do I change my settings? And what you're going to find a lot of people are going to do is they're going to change their settings or change their strategies. It's just like anything else. It's just like me saying, hey, I'm, sucking wind here with my breakout strategy these past couple of weeks, which if let's say I was, and I got to change it. I'm going to do an inverse breakout where I'm going to play, this strategy. I'm going to play, and I start changing my strategy. And I'm like, well, I've done this. I've got this data on my strategy. I got my data on myself. I know myself. I know how I've been doing. Now I'm going to change it. And so now I have to get like all this fresh new data on how I'm doing this new thing. And you never end up like fully just understanding and optimizing what you're currently doing. You just end up changing. And so you keep changing something that to something that had been working the past couple of weeks or past couple of months, and the markets inevitably change. So then you just keep running in this loop where you're always chasing what was working and you're never sticking to one thing and just saying, I'm going to go through drawdown. I'm going to have periods where it's not going to work that well. I'm going to have periods where it is, where I could just sit in that same lane and optimize it and figure out how to manage my risk properly so that I can handle those drawdowns and then make and take advantage of the streaks to where I'm profitable, and then just compound that, get more money, compound that versus chasing or chasing what has been working. And you'll find periods of time where you're going to catch the end of like those runs. It's going to work and then it's not. It's going to work and then it's not. So that's what I think is the cool part about this whole new wave and where we're headed. So that's that. Checking back in on this guy, as you can see, I know we're like semi-live, as in like I'm live as this is happening, but at the same time this video is going to get posted and you're going to, it'll be over. But yeah, so you can see it's moving to the TP, but now, it's 10 a.m., 10:08 a.m., whatever. It's going to do whatever. I don't know. This is definitely, as of late, like I said, the later in the day, the better, seemingly. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that today's not going to work. Doesn't mean that tomorrow's not going to work, With that said, thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll leave a link to TradeZilla below if you're ever interested in checking it out. I'll update you next month on how the automations are doing, how the day trades are doing. I mean, I'm not day trading, but I am. You know what I'm saying? Like I've essentially told a computer like, hey, I want you to do these things, whether I'm at the desk or not. And so far, to be honest, it's been pretty good. I haven't had a lot of issues with like, oh, it didn't get in, didn't get out. Oh, I got a huge slippage. I got some slippage here and there, but nothing crazy. So that's promising. But I still want to trade on my own and trade manually. So I'm going to be doing that as well. But again, like I said, swing trades. That's what I like to do. I found better success there anyway. So we're going to roll with that. Thanks so much, guys. I will see you in next month's recap. Peace.